This is section 6.5, day 1, but this is part 2. This will be the final video that you'll be watching this evening.
Alright, once again we are going to use the Pythagorean theorem for a real-life application. Our prompt says to find the height of the firework and round to the nearest tenth. Again, by the clue of what we're going to get the radical of something that's not perfect, and we're going to have to round that to the nearest tenth. So we have an image here of you and a firework and some labeled details. So our plan is to use the Pythagorean theorem. So I'm going to state the Pythagorean theorem, and I'm going to give myself the key so I know what I'm going to substitute in for A, B, and C. So looking at my picture, remembering the side that's opposite the right angle is my hypotenuse. So I know 335 will be C. And the other two sides are my legs, either A or B. So this one is my altitude, so I'm going to name that A, and this is my base, so this is my B. So taking that information back into my key, A is my unknown, and B is my 300. So I'm going to go through this process by substitution. So my unknown squared plus 300 squared is equal to 335 squared. If you want to pull out your calculator to follow along with me to see the math working out, A squared plus 90,000 equals 112,225. If you square those numbers in your calculator. And now I'm going to use the subtraction property of equality to subtract the 90,000 from both sides to figure out what the A squared is equal to. And the difference between the two is 22,225, which is A squared. So I'm going to take the square root, the inverse operation of squaring, to both sides. So these two signs cancel, leaving me A, and I have to figure out what the square root of 22,225 is. This is not something that I'm assuming that you have stored in your memory. Use your calculator, and you want to approximate to the nearest tenth. So doing that correctly in your calculator, you should get 149.1. Now, since it's an approximation, I want to change that equals to the approximation so that I'm telling the reader that I did round that after looking at my calculator. So, is this my final answer? Well, let me label my picture. I just found out that X is 149.1 meters, and they want to know what the height of the firework is. Now remember, the firework is from the center point to the ground. So in this case, what I solve for is a piece of the puzzle. It's not the final answer. So I have to take the full distance, which is made up of the 149.1 meters and the 1.5 meters. So I'm going to add that to 1.5 to say that A is 149.1, but the height is 150.6 meters. And I can just put the word before it. The height of the firework is 150.6 meters. Remember, sometimes we get an answer for A or X, and it leads us to the correct answer. It's not always the answer that we're solving for. So please take a second, write down your checkpoint, and then we will talk about the answer in tomorrow's class.
This is your last checkpoint for tonight's video lessons. Complete this, and we'll talk about the 2 checkpoints tomorrow.